All right, everyone, welcome back to the YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about a topic that has been quite requested on the YouTube channel. And the reason why I haven't really been talking too much about this is because I feel like this is something that is not as kind of evergreen as everything else that I'm talking about. So if you are watching this video and this video was released maybe 2 months ago or I don't know, 5 months ago or something, be aware that some of this information in this video might be outdated, because what I'm going to talk about is how to pick a market to work in, because it is actually quite an important decision to make when you get started with casino affiliate marketing, because it kind of is going to dictate kind of your success quite a lot as well. But the reason why it's very hard for me to just give an easy yes or no blunt advice on what market you should start in is because there's many factors that I'm going to go through in this video, so I'm going to wait a bit with explaining that. But yeah, it's always changing. A market that was good to start with 5 years ago might not be a good market to start in today. A market that was good starting in maybe like just 1 year ago might not be good today, and like, you know, etc. and vice versa and stuff like that. So yeah. Perfect. If you're new to the YouTube channel, my name is Adam. I've been working with casino affiliate marketing for 9 years now. It's super fun. I'm still very much doing it myself. I'm creating a new website. It launched like two months ago, and I can actually spoil what markets I'm doing for this website. I'm doing the Canadian, the German, the Swedish, and the Spanish market at the moment. And I'm going to branch it out to new markets as well, because I can mention that as well, because you can have many different approaches with this, and just because you choose one market doesn't mean that this is the one that you're going to die with, basically. Like I did now, I opened up in 4 markets basically immediately, maybe because I kind of have the means to do so, and maybe the budget as well. But also keep that in mind, that you can open up in a market, you can try it out. If you don't like it, either you just add a new market in your rosters of markets, or you roster in the rosters of markets, or you create a new website just targeting this market. Sorry, I'm in a weird mood today, but who cares? So yeah, so yeah, that is the point, that you can just go into new markets. I just woke up from a super long nap, so that's why I'm in this mood right now. But anyway, I'm going to start this video now with the PowerPoint presentation. So I will see you there in a second. Which button is it? Is it this one? So yeah, here we are. First, I wanted to explain a little bit about, I'm not going to go in too much about the kind of regulations and on how they work, but regulations are a very important part in how to, you know, pick your first market. For me, you have basically like 3 different layers of regulations. Here I call it like regulated, unregulated, or banned. But this is basically true because a country can either be regulated, which means that they have a regulation in place. It can be an unregulated market, which means that it's either allowed or forbidden to gamble. And you also have basically the black markets, where it's completely illegal to operate as both as an operator and as an affiliate. And you can choose between working in any of these. Obviously, some of them come with a lot more risk. If you want to be sneaky and operate in the black markets, you can do that. You can also operate in unregulated markets. And now, like when I was talking about this more, like maybe 5 years ago, there was way more unregulated markets. But now there feels like a lot of countries are creating their own like gambling authority licenses and stuff like that. UK was one of the first ones that did this. Sweden has also done that. Some countries like Canada, for example, they have region-based licenses. Ontario is a good example on this. And some markets have just completely banned gambling. For example, Australia and France and other countries like Southeast Asia countries and stuff like that. And the unregulated markets is the ones where you can still operate, but you need a license, but not like a state license or a country license. And many of these casinos are working under the Maltese Gambling Authority license, or the Curacao license, or Gibraltar license. So this is something that you don't need to be an expert on how the licenses works, but it's good to know that this is something that's going to factor into the decision of choosing a market. And I actually listed some criteria here. No, I didn't. I'm going to do it. Don't know why it jumped so much here, but who cares? So here you have the different licenses, and like I mentioned before, the biggest ones are the MGA license and the Curacao license. And I think that, like I mentioned here, also the Curacao license is super easy to get, I think, especially if you're working as a white label. Also MGA, as an operator, you can just buy a white label casino and you get the MGA license pretty much automatically. As an affiliate, you don't really need to care too much about this, because what we are doing basically is that we are going to list the casinos that are going to make us money, the casinos that are going to convert. And sometimes it matters what license they have, but at the end of the day, if a casino is operating in a country and we can promote them, we can make money with them, maybe the license for us doesn't really matter. But I also think that once you've been in the affiliate space for a long enough time and you ask a casino what license they have and they say Curacao, then you can think like, oh, I'm already promoting a lot of Curacao brands in this specific market. So, and I know that the Curacao brands are working really well in this market, so maybe I can just keep pushing Curacao brands. For me, I think that if we look at a ratio of brands I've been pushing, I think that Curacao brands are the ones that I've been personally making the most money with, because I don't know, they've been working very well, very great. Local licenses, we have the Swedish one, we have also the German one, which has a really long name. Also, Ontario is a good example. We have the UK Gambling Commission. Brazil just came out with a local license. I know that New Zealand is going to do it next year. Finland is also kind of crushing their state monopoly next year as well. So it's kind of starting more and more with these local licenses. But don't think that just because a country has a local license in place, that doesn't mean that the Curacao brands is not going to operate there, because they're going to do that anyway. And they're basically just going to fight the government in these countries. So you can still promote Curacao brands in the countries that has these local licenses, but obviously you're doing it at your own risk. But I can tell you also that the people that are running the greatest risk of getting caught in this is not the affiliates, it is the operators. So if there's enough Curacao brands to go around, you can just promote them if you want. That is not my advice. I'm just letting you know that that is something that you can do. So some criteria to consider when choosing a country. I think I have maybe I mentioned this inside of my course, because I talk a lot more about this inside of the course. And if you're curious about my community, there's a link in the description to CasinoAffMastery. We are a community of 100 people that are, all of us are doing casino affiliate marketing. Some people have been doing it for many years, some people are completely new, and it's a great way to be if you are interested in this space. In the community, there's also a 50 long video course, and you can also, there's also access to me. So if you have any questions, you can ask me day or night, and I will try to do my best to answer all of them. But never mind. I think that one of the biggest factor is obviously the player value, because what we want is to promote casinos in a country where we know that the value of the players that we're sending to the casinos are going to be high. I'm not saying that the player value is the only thing that we should use in order to choose a country, because obviously if you are in a country that has maybe 200 million people living in there and the player value is lower, maybe that is going to be better than a country that has a super high player value, but maybe there's only like 5 million people living there. But obviously this is something that we should consider. And I think that you can just use maybe a country's GDP or something like that to kind of figure it out. But it's pretty easy to guess that maybe the player value in Canada is going to be maybe a bit higher than the player value in Venezuela or stuff like that. So it is something to consider. Also, like backlink cost, I kind of just like scramble this a bit, but this is something that I'm looking at quite a bit when I'm choosing a market, because if you just use Sweden as an example, the player value is going to be high. Also like with Finland, maybe Norway, the player value is going to be high, but Swedish backlinks and Norwegian backlinks and stuff like that are super, super expensive. So it's going to require a higher initial upfront cost if you want to really push your backlinks. And the competition is going to be higher as well. So you need maybe more backlinks in order to rank for these countries. I'm also in the end of this video going to kind of list some countries where I feel like maybe you shouldn't get started in, just so you know that. So stay until the end of this video. So this is a good thing. I also put content creation here, like cost and difficulty of localizing, because content writers in these countries, if you're going for like human content writers, are also going to be more expensive in certain countries. So finding a really good Spanish content writer, if you're doing, for example, Venezuela, might be a lot cheaper than finding a Swedish content writer to write content for you in Swedish. And another thing that I usually consider, or usually I give as an advice for someone starting out, is to choose a country where you can at least understand the language. Not because you're maybe going to write all of the content yourself, but it is kind of an advantage to be able to, when you're building your website, when you're doing all of this stuff, to kind of understand the text on your website. At least as a starting off point. So I think most of us that are watching this video right now speak English or understands English. So maybe then it's really good to start in a market that is an English speaking market. Let's say that you are from Portugal and you speak Portuguese. Maybe you can start in the Brazilian or the Portuguese market, because it's going to make everything a bit smoother in the beginning. And then if you decide to go onto another market, then you can maybe choose one where you don't speak the language and you kind of have to rely on maybe translators or just translation tools and stuff, so you can understand the content that you're putting on your own website. So that is my point with this one. Also, brand availability. It is good to choose markets where you know that a lot of casinos are operating. And obviously this is hard to know before you actually, got started, or before you kind of understand the industry a bit more, because I've had problems with this. I've been entering markets and then I cannot find any good brands that are operating in these markets. So maybe this one is not like the highest priority one, but it is good to choose. For example, I've been using the example of New Zealand for a really long time, and also Canada. There's a lot of casinos that are operating in these countries. Also, if you're doing UK, licensed UK brands, there's going to be a lot of licensed UK brands as well, just as an example. But if you go into other markets, I know my community members, let's say that someone is going into the Romanian market or something like this, and they just kind of realize that there's a very few brands that are actually operating in this country. I think before the war between Russia and Ukraine, I went into the Ukrainian and Russian market. I also kind of noticed that there was not a lot of brands that were operating there, and the brands that were operating there were kind of hard to get in touch with, and their deals were bad, and everything is kind of felt a bit off. So this is also kind of something to consider. But I'm going to start talking about the markets that I recommend. But it's also kind of, you have to choose as well. And this is why I feel like I like to operate in many markets at the same time, because you can go into the proven markets, for example, UK, Sweden, Canada. I'm just using the same examples over and over. Germany, Netherlands, also really good markets. And you can go into this market because you know that they're already working. But something that a lot of people are doing is that they're going to upcoming markets. I had a call with someone the other day. I don't remember the market that we talked about, but I think it was maybe like Ecuador or something like this. And I've never really heard about anyone going into this market. So then I felt like, that's, pretty cool. Maybe it's good to be early. I mean, I've been in this industry for such a long time, so I was kind of early going into some certain markets. I was very early going into, let's see if I can remember the ones I was early at. The Indian market, I was early. It didn't really pan out that good for me. But also, I was super early in the UK as well. I was early into the Brazilian market. I think many people that have been watching my videos know that I've been in the Brazilian market for a really long time. And stuff like that. So it also helps to be early in markets. So, switching it up a bit and trying many different things, I think that is the thing that is going to work best. Because I also want to say this quickly, that just because a market is working for someone, it doesn't mean that it's going to work for everyone else. I've had a lot of success in markets that didn't work for some people. Some people tell me, oh, you should go into this market because it works amazing. And then I go into the market and it doesn't work at all for me. So that's why I'm also a bit, cautious, just recommending markets to people, because if I say something and they take my word for it and then it doesn't work for them, I don't want to be blamed for it. I don't know why I wrote Brazil here. It's not really an upcoming market. So don't mind this one. But more growth potential for sure, less competition for sure. And this one is, I think, the dangerous thing, because changes might come in the future. That's why it's good to go into markets that is already kind of established. The Canadian market is a good example because they have the statewide licenses, but I don't think there's going to be like a local license in the whole country. So we're kind of safe going into that market. Same with Sweden and UK, already licensed. They have a regulated and they have an unregulated market. So you can choose which one of these that you want to go into. But I was doing the Brazilian market for 4 years. It became super regulated like a year ago, and I lost most of my revenue. So obviously, there's a risk going into this kind of upcoming markets as well. So, and the first countries, or kind of the genre of countries that I want to talk about, and is a really good place for people that are just starting out to enter, is Canada or New Zealand. I can add Australia for the guys that are a bit more bold to also go into the Australian market. It is a black market, so I cannot recommend it officially that people should go into this market. But it's kind of the same category, the same as UK, honestly. But I think that UK is very saturated at the moment, or has always been. But the good thing with these countries is, first of all, is that they are English-speaking countries. So it's going to be easy for you to create content, and it's easy for you to find maybe content writers. And they have a lot of operating brands in these countries. So it's going to be easy for you to find good and reliable partners to work with here. If you are going into these markets, I have a lot of brands that I can recommend. So just book a free call with me. There's a link in the description as well. And I can put you in contact with a lot of really good brands that are operating in Canada and New Zealand. The player value in these countries are really good. And the conversion rates are good as well. And the conversion rate is basically the conversion rate that I'm using is from registered players to depositing players. And most likely the problem going from registered to depositing players is that the casino doesn't have good enough payment methods for the players to be able to make a deposit at the casino. And I think that in these countries, they have really good payment methods. I also know in some countries, like I'm doing the Netherlands, in Netherlands, they also have really good like kind of payment options. I know Denmark also has it, Sweden and UK as well. But some countries just have these really good payment options that just allows the players to make really easy deposits. And in Canada and New Zealand, this is really easy. Like I mentioned, yeah, many trusted brands, this is the same thing. But yeah, these are just like very good beginners markets to get started in, to kind of learn everything, learn the ropes, and hopefully have some success in these markets. And then maybe later try new markets as well. And then we go into the Latin American markets. And the Latin American markets are what I've seen from my community members. A lot of people are going into these ones. I just mentioned here that Colombia is fully regulated. Nothing wrong with that. Brazil is now regulated with local licenses. So Brazil is a market that I do not really recommend anyone to go into right now. I'm not saying that this is not going to be a really good market in the future, but there are kind of a lot of red tape in order to start working with operators. You have to set up a company, or at least you have to work with a network in order to find the brand so that they can actually invoice you and stuff like that. So I wouldn't recommend this. So, but there are a lot of Latin American countries that you can enter. For example, Chile, Peru, Argentina, Colombia as well. And yeah, so the good thing with going into maybe Latin America as well is that if you already get, for example, a link builder, you work with some casinos or some operators in Latin America, most likely they're also going to work in other Latin American countries. So if you want to scale your website and open up in new countries, you can just start operating in more Latin American countries. You can use the same content writer, and you can maybe use the same brands and stuff like that. So they have a great growth potential. Unfortunately, but they kind of have a bit of a low player value in these countries, but it kind of makes up for it with the higher volumes. Like I said, when I was doing the Brazilian market, the player value was not that high, but the volumes were super high. So let's say that when I was doing the UK, which I'm still doing, 10 FTDs could be the same value as 100 FTDs in Brazil. So you can always make up for it with higher volumes. So the same thing here, the deals that you're going to get are going to be lower as well because the player value is lower. But then again, if you're sending enough volumes, you're going to be able to be profitable. And also coming back to the cost side of things, if you have a cheaper content writer, if you can buy cheaper backlinks, you don't have to spend that much money initially in order to maybe start seeing some ranking and start generating some players. The European countries, for me, I've kind of noticed that I always want to come back doing the European markets because for me, they are a bit more satisfying. The player value is going to be higher. It's just easier with like the payment infrastructure and the culture and the keywords. I cannot really put a finger on it, but I really like to work in the European countries. The conversion rates are most likely very good. The biggest problems with Europe is that it could be saturated. Like I mentioned in the beginning, if you're working in a country where they have local licenses, you have to kind of decide if you want to only push licensed casinos in these countries, or you want to go only for the unregulated casinos in these countries. So there's a lot of options in the European countries, and you can find a lot of like smaller niches and stuff like that as well in the different markets. So just to name drop some countries in Europe I have had some good success with. Netherlands is really good. I did Ireland for quite some time, and it was also worked really well. Spain is working really well. Portugal, you can go into France if you want. Then again, it is a black market, so do it at your own risk. I have people going into the Polish market as well. People are still doing the more Western European countries with some success as well. So all of this kind of boils down to that there's many markets that are going to work. So there's not just like one really amazing market that everyone should enter because it is the best one. It just comes down to like a lot of different strategies. That's why it's so hard to just say like this is the best one. So the European countries, for me, I like them. I don't know why. It's just I have a good feeling about operating in these countries. The Scandinavian countries, if you ask me, honestly, I wouldn't recommend people going into the Scandinavian countries. And if you watched this far in this video, you might understand why. And it is because the backlink costs are going to be high. They are very saturated. The countries are quite small. And the player value is going to be super high. But then again, it's going to be hard to compete in these countries. So I recommend people to stay away from the Scandinavian countries unless you really want to, or if you find kind of like a small niche or you have some advantage that some other people might not have. So countries that I also recommend you to stay away from is the US. I see a lot of people coming to the community and they already started with the US, and they don't really understand that US is the only country in the world that requires a license for affiliates. I think that there's some other countries as well now, but US is at least the biggest one. So if you want to be an affiliate in the US, you need to get a license, and it's not as easy as it sounds, because you need kind of like sponsor, you need like an entity, you need to file a lot of weird stuff in the US that just takes a lot of time and costs a bit of money. So I don't recommend the US. I needed to write Australia here as well because it is a country where they are banning. I don't know if you can get like legal repercussions as an affiliate, but I know that they are banning a lot of affiliate websites to just kind of like shut them down. So don't go in and invest a lot of money on Australian websites or affiliate sites, and then because you really run the risk of getting just like completely shut down. Then obviously, of course, you can do the kind of burn and churn. You build a website, maybe it can work for a couple of years, then it gets shut down, you start a new one, whatever. But I wouldn't really risk the Australian market. At least I don't want to be the one that tell you to go into the Australian market, but then you can do it yourself if you want. South and Southeast Asia, it is complex. They're not really using, depending on what your traffic methods are, but they're not really finding casinos the same way that we are doing in Western countries. And it's very illegal in a lot of countries. So you have to kind of find the back door in order to find the players, reach the players. It's going to be harder for you to find the operators that are working in these countries. So then again, I don't have too much experience with this, but I would be a bit cautious going into these countries. I mentioned it before as well, Brazil, for now at least, the new regulations are making it quite complex to get paid from the operators. There's a lot of compliance stuff that you need to be aware of in order to operate in the Brazilian market. So I'm actually still running sites in Brazil, and trust me that there is a lot of compliance with the bigger brands that you always have to be up to date with, and it's not that fun, honestly. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this video made sense to you, and I hope at least you learned something from it. Like I mentioned many times, it's very hard for me to give you a very straight answer on what market you should go into, and I think that the longer you've been in the industry, you're going to kind of feel the pull or either the push from a market. Many of the markets that I've gone into myself has either been through kind of the industry buzz. People are talking a bit about a new market that they think that everyone should enter. So then I also go into the market. I hear a friend talking about market that worked for them, so I go into it. Maybe I have an affiliate manager at a casino that is saying that a specific market is doing really well for them. I go into that market as well. But then again, I'm also kind of this person in this industry that I like to experiment a lot, and I like to try a lot of different things. And so that's why I've kind of been like YOLOing around a lot in the different markets to just try them out. So yeah, please let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. And also, if you have any questions about anything in this video, feel free again to book a call with me. There's a link in the description. Also, join my community if you want. It's really fun to be in the community. You find a link in the description as well. So yeah, until I see you in my next video, have an amazing day. Bye bye.